If you speak the same, you stay the same. And if your words have ruled you until now, then for the next 30 days, you must rule them. This is not a motivational challenge. This is a vow, a sacred agreement between your higher self and the man you were always meant to become. 30 days of silence, not as absence, but as spiritual discipline. If you accept this, you will walk through a fire that burns away the old voice, the weak voice, the distracted voice, the emotional voice, and in its place you will forge authority, command, clarity, and purpose. Say nothing unless it builds, and watch what rises from within. You have spoken enough. That is the truth. You have explained, you have declared, you have promised and planned aloud. And what has come of it? Have your words built the life you claim to desire? Have your explanations moved mountains? Or have they become the noise that buries your identity beneath distraction and emotion? Let me say it plainly. Most men speak more than they act. They use their words not as tools of construction, but as shields for weakness. They speak from habit, from nervousness, from impulse. They react instead of observe. They explain instead of move. They confess emotions instead of directing them. And every time they open their mouth without clarity or conviction, they weaken the very foundation they are attempting to build. Speech is not harmless. It is creative. It is formative. It is instructional. And if your speech is undisciplined, then your life will mirror that chaos. Your subconscious mind listens to everything you say, and it believes you. Not once, not when you mean it, but every time. Repetition is law. Emotion is fuel. If you continue to speak without vision, without accuracy, without restraint, you will never command your inner world, and you will never build the outer one. This is why we begin with silence. I do not offer you a challenge. I offer you a vow, a sacred agreement between your higher self and the part of you that has remained enslaved to talk. For 30 days, you will be silent, not as a retreat, but as a preparation, not as absence, but as the regathering of internal power. You will not suppress your spirit. You will concentrate it. You will stop speaking to be understood. You will stop leaking emotion through language. You will stop polluting your direction with idle comments, quick replies, nervous laughter, or scattered thoughts. You will, for the first time in years, hold the line within. Silence is not passivity. It is preparation. It is the gathering of fire before the strike of the hammer. It is the storing of command before the sentence is issued. It is the mental fast that precedes spiritual clarity. You will learn a spiritual law in this silence. Speech without purpose is permission for weakness to remain. You have permitted too much. You have tolerated your own emotional leakage. You have allowed opinions to escape without fact, frustration to become language, confusion to become noise. But no more. From this day forward, you speak only what you have earned the right to say. Speech must be born of thought, clarity, and vision. No more guessing aloud. No more half-finished theories. No more commentary. You will speak only what is tested, what is refined, what is ready. And until then, you will say nothing. Think now of John D. Rockefeller. He was not a loud man. He was not theatrical. In meetings, he spoke so little that others grew nervous. They filled the silence with opinions, with predictions, with chatter. But Rockefeller sat still, listening, calculating. His silence was not emptiness. It was dominance. His restraint was not weakness. It was the evidence of internal certainty. And when he finally spoke, his words were not debated, they were followed. That is power, and it is now your path. For 30 days, you will speak only when absolutely necessary. You will eliminate unnecessary talking. You will abstain from opinions. You will not explain yourself. You will not react with words. You will let others talk. You will let the world chatter, but you will be still. Let this be the new law over your mouth. No unnecessary talking, no opinions, no emotional leaks, no casual explanations. Every word will be weighed, or it will not be spoken. This vow is not for the faint of heart. It is not for the man who still finds comfort in expressing weakness. It is for the man who is ready to build himself from within. It is for the man who is tired of leaking energy and ready to concentrate it. It is for the man who no longer needs to be heard because he is becoming someone the world cannot ignore. Let your silence become your structure. And now you will speak your first and only sentence today. For 30 days I hold my words. I guard my power. I choose silence over exposure. Say it aloud. Say it with posture. Say it with clarity. Say it again. And say nothing else. Because the vow has begun. The words you speak have not merely described your condition, they have created it. You do not speak about weakness, you instruct it. You do not talk about delay, you program it. Every time you have said, I can't, it's hard, I'll try. You carved a deeper groove into the machinery of your mind. That groove became identity, and that identity has become your ceiling. You have not been stopped by fate, by background, or by competition. You have been stopped by your own language, by repetition, by volume, by idle phrases thrown carelessly into the wind, each one a small agreement with limitation. You have been giving orders to your own subconscious, and it, in its loyalty, has obeyed, not once, not occasionally, but every time. This is why the 30-day vow of silence is not just a pause in expression, it is a break in the programming. It is a reinstallation of higher thought. It is a purging of the default phrases you've allowed to rule your identity. It is the stripping away of the vocabulary of weakness and the quiet birth of authority. You have said things aloud that should have never passed your lips, words like, I'm not good at that. Things never work for me. I always mess it up. That's just the way I am. You thought they were harmless. You were wrong. You thought they were honest. But they were dishonest to the man you are capable of becoming. And every time they escaped your mouth, your subconscious recorded them as law. Understand this. Words are not reflections. They are blueprints. You are not describing reality. You are defining it. Even your inner dialogue, if left unchecked, becomes a chain around your progress. You do not have to believe the words for them to be dangerous. You only have to repeat them. This is the silent poison of language, and the vow is the antidote. Let me show you how powerful silence can be when aligned with execution. Henry Ford was misunderstood most of his life. He was not known for eloquence. He was not celebrated for his speech. In fact, he was often mocked for it. Men assumed his silence meant simplicity, but they missed the truth. His silence meant direction. Ford was not interested in convincing, he was interested in creating. He had no time for debating. He was too focused on building. He did not declare intention, he delivered it. He rarely explained himself, and when asked why, he said, "Thinking is the hardest work there is." Most men avoid silence because they do not know how to think. Ford welcomed it because in silence his vision became vivid. He understood what you are now learning. Speech is a public act of belief. If you continue to speak weakness, even in jest, your belief in strength will never grow. But if you stop talking, you will begin hearing, not the voice of doubt, not the noise of emotion, but the actual thoughts that govern your actions. And once you hear them, you can replace them. You cannot rewire what you refuse to observe, and observation requires silence. During these 30 days, you will begin to notice how often your old self wants to speak, and you will catch him at the edge of your mouth. That is the moment of liberation, not in the speech, but in the withholding. You will see how many of your words were defense. You will see how often you explained to gain sympathy. You will see how frequently you narrated your weakness as if it were part of your identity. And in silence, you will feel that identity fall apart. That is not death. That is rebirth. Now I give you a drill, a simple law to observe with vigilance. Catch yourself before every word. Ask, does this build me or bind me? If it builds, it may be spoken. If it binds, you will remain silent. Do not justify it. Do not explain it. Let it pass. Let it die unspoken. This single moment, this pause, will be the beginning of 1,000 new thoughts that never could have entered a mind polluted with uncontrolled speech. And now I give you a declaration. Speak it aloud. Speak it like you mean it, not for show, but for structure. I have no words for weakness. I build in silence. I obey inner command. Again, I have no words for weakness. I build in silence. I obey inner command. This is your identity now. Not because you hope it is, but because you will enforce it with discipline. You are not here to describe your limits. You are here to replace them. And the first tool in that replacement is silence. Your intentions have not failed you. Your inconsistency has. The man who intends to rise but speaks in contradiction to that aim is a man divided against himself, and no divided mind can produce greatness. If your subconscious receives one command in the morning and another at midday, it obeys neither. It returns to drift, because the subconscious does not respond to inspiration. It responds to repetition. Understand this law, and you will understand why most men fail before they begin. The subconscious mind does not follow what you mean. It follows what you repeat. It does not reward ambition. It rewards discipline. It does not recognize emotion. It recognizes consistency backed by belief. You may intend to become rich, strong, focused, or calm. But if your words contradict that aim, especially your repeated, emotional, careless words, then your intention is overruled by your instruction. And what is instruction? It is the repeated language of identity, spoken aloud, emotionally reinforced, and allowed to play unchallenged across the mind. This is the law of autosuggestion, and it governs every outcome you create. Autosuggestion is not a spiritual novelty. It is the programming system by which all mental habits are formed, and habits form results. This law is always active. Whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not, you are always instructing your subconscious. The only question is, what are you saying to it? You may speak positive affirmations for 2 minutes each morning, but if you complain, react, gossip, vent, or narrate weakness for the remaining 16 hours, then your subconscious is receiving the real command. Stay small, stay distracted, stay safe. This is why silence for 30 days is not just a practice. It is a shock to the cycle. It is the forced stillness that halts the leak. It is the first condition necessary for reinstallation. You cannot install a new belief until the old language is removed. You cannot plant new thought in ground still seeded with contradiction. Every careless sentence you've ever spoken, every moment of, I don't know, I'm not ready, that's just how I am, has been written into the fibers of your self-image. The vow of silence is a spiritual fast, a purging of speech that no longer serves the man you are becoming. And once the mind has been cleared of noise, once your tongue is no longer an untrained instrument, then and only then may you begin again, but this time with precision. Let me give you the structure. You will in silence begin to write a new series of declarations. You will not speak them aloud until the 30 days are complete. You will not show them to others. You will not treat them as motivational phrases. They are not for comfort. They are not for emotional relief. They are for command. You are writing new orders to the mind, and therefore they must be crafted in the structure of certainty. The formula is this: I am. This is identity. You speak as the man you already are becoming. I do. This is action. You affirm behavior. I build. This is purpose. You establish direction. I demand. This is will. You instruct your subconscious that there is no turning back. Let me give you examples, not for mimicry, but for instruction. I am a man of action. I do not wait. I do not explain. I move. I do the work others avoid. I do what must be done without complaint. I build order, power, wealth, and peace through daily discipline. I demand clarity from my thoughts and structure from my hours. You will write 5 of these, not more, not less. You will write them as law, And for the remaining days of the vow, you will read them silently each morning, not aloud, not yet, because your mouth has not yet been trained to speak only what serves. In the silence, these declarations will take root. And by the end of 30 days, your voice will be clean again. And when it is clean, you will speak these lines aloud. And when you do, your subconscious will believe you, not because it was inspired, but because it was prepared. Let me offer an image to deepen your understanding. Thomas Edison, known for his relentless experimentation, did not waste words. He was not a man of public declaration. He did not attend functions to speak of what he had not yet built. He did not lecture on the potential of his inventions. He spoke to himself, alone in his lab. He spoke to his associates with clarity and brevity. And when he failed, he said nothing to the crowd. He returned to the table and resumed the work. He spoke only what built the next test, not what pleased the ears of doubters. His speech was never for approval. It was for action. And the subconscious of that man obeyed him because he never allowed contradiction. You must now become like Edison. You must speak only what aligns with your structure, and that begins not in words, but in withdrawal from them. Every man who rises must undergo internal reformation, and reformation begins with stillness. You cannot command a battlefield while surrounded by shouting, and you cannot command your mind while your own voice disobeys itself. You may think that silence is weakness, but it is only weakness for those who fear themselves. For the man who is building structure, silence is sacred ground. Let me now speak to your instinct to fill the space. You will feel the urge to speak before your mind is ready. You will feel the need to explain, to soften, to release pressure with casual words. Deny this urge. Let it die. Sit with the pressure. It is not punishment. It is purification. Your emotions may rise. Your thoughts may rebel. Let them. Watch them. Say nothing. The fire is cleaning you. The silence is reshaping you. Your tongue is being retrained by restraint. And from this silence will emerge not a softer man, but a clearer one. A man whose voice no longer repeats the noise of the crowd, but declares the instruction of a sovereign spirit. And now your drill. Write 5 declarations using the formula, I am, I do, I build, I demand. Read them each morning in silence. After reading, reflect on how your actions that day will reflect each line. On day 31, speak them aloud, 10 times each, with power, breath, and certainty. And now, your affirmation. I train my mind by holding my tongue. I speak only to command. Say it once, and let it ring inside you. Say it until your voice returns to you as an ally, not a saboteur. You are not what you say you are. You are what you say repeatedly. And what you say repeatedly, your subconscious obeys without question. So silence is not the end. It is the first condition for a new beginning. The mind does not tire from labor. It tires from noise. It is not the volume of work that burns you out. It is the volume of thought you never controlled. It is the emotional words you never restrained. It is the talking, explaining, reacting, expressing, responding, none of which ever built anything of value, but each of which depleted your power like water, spilling from a cracked vessel. If you feel scattered, it is because you are spread too thin through speech. If you feel tired, it is because you are overdrawn by unnecessary explanation, not meaningful effort. The average man leaks more strength through careless conversation than he does through hard labor. Speech, like thought, is currency. It costs energy. Every word is a decision. Every decision is a withdrawal from the vault of willpower. If your words are many, your mind will be weak. If your decisions are constant, your focus will be diffused. And if your focus is diffused, your future will remain out of reach. Silence is conservation. Silence is storage. Silence is spiritual concentration. When you withdraw from speech, you do not become passive. You become potent. You gather your force. You reclaim your clarity. You begin to feel the return of a long-lost strength, the strength that belongs only to the man who no longer needs to be heard. That man is rare, but that man changes every room he walks into. Let me teach you something few men will ever understand. A man who speaks little, but acts with precision, has more influence than 1,000 men with smooth tongues and no center. A man who sits still and says nothing, but radiates decisiveness, calm, and self-respect, is felt by others before he opens his mouth. He commands not because he demands, but because he carries his energy instead of spending it. Presence is what is left when unnecessary speech has been removed. When you walk into a room and say nothing, but your eyes are clear, your posture clean, your steps unhurried, people notice, not because you performed, but because you preserved. You carry energy that has not been depleted by talking. You carry decisions already made in silence. You do not chase attention. You anchor the space by occupying it. Silence increases gravity. Most men chase influence by making noise. They misunderstand the law. The more they talk, the more they blend in. The louder they get, the less they are heard. Because attention follows not sound, it follows power. And power is not displayed, it is felt. Let me give you the law. He who is silent becomes visible. He who is loud becomes forgettable. The invisible man is the one who tries too hard to be seen. The unforgettable man is the one who does not chase attention, but arrives with purpose and needs no permission to remain. The greatest among men have always understood this. Abraham Lincoln, whose clarity reshaped a nation, was not known for dominating rooms with talk. He sat quietly, often for long stretches, while others debated. His silence made others uncomfortable, but it made him immovable. He allowed confusion to unravel while he sharpened his own ideas in stillness. When he did speak, it was with finality, not because his speech was eloquent, but because it was backed by clarity purchased in silence. His presence said more than his words ever needed to. That is your new model for the next 30 days and for the rest of your life if you are wise. You will begin practicing presence without speech, not as an act, not as a posture, but as a way of being. You will let others speak freely. You will listen, not to respond, but to learn. You will notice how often you once filled the air with words and how unnecessary it always was. You will allow the silence to work on you, to expose the parts of your identity that only existed when you were speaking. You will feel uncomfortable at first. That discomfort is the heat of transformation. Do not run from it, sit in it, and grow. Your presence will begin to change. You will move more slowly. You will stop needing to say what you think. You will know what you think without needing to broadcast it. You will discover that people listen more carefully when you speak less. You will be asked for your input more often when you withhold it more wisely. Because silence is magnetic, and when your energy is no longer leaking through casual words, it begins to form a force around you that no one can ignore, even if you say nothing at all. Now I give you a new drill. Each day during this vow, practice entering spaces with presence, not words. You may walk into your office, your home, a conversation, a meal, or a decision-making moment, but you will not lead with your mouth. You will lead with your composure, with your attention, with the energy you have kept within. Sit. Listen, watch, respond only if necessary. And if you must speak, speak only what builds. This single habit will rewire your nervous system. You will stop reacting. You will begin perceiving. You will stop performing. You will begin deciding. You will stop burning energy and begin conserving it for forceful, creative direction. And now say this aloud. Not loudly, but clearly, slowly, like a man who means it. My silence speaks, my stillness builds, my presence precedes me. Say it again. My silence speaks, my stillness builds, my presence precedes me. This is not merely an affirmation, it is a command to the mind. It is a rewiring of the very rhythm by which you enter your days. You are no longer here to be loud. You are here to become undeniable. And that kind of man speaks less, not because he cannot, but because he has no need to. The man who explains too much acts too little. That is the truth most cannot bear to hear. They believe that if they describe their intentions often enough, they will become real. But in truth, every explanation is a leak. Every time you give voice to what is not yet finished, you fracture its force. You split the current of your own will. You speak instead of build. You describe instead of decide. Most men sabotage their progress by announcing their aim too early, too often, and to too many. They want to be seen starting. They want credit before completion. They want support for a vision not yet born. But greatness does not need announcement. It needs obedience to movement. Let me give you the law. Build first, speak last. The most powerful plans are not revealed in words. They are revealed in results. And until those results are made visible through action, the plan must remain protected by silence. Silence is not the absence of strategy. It is the womb of action. It is where ideas gestate into conviction. It is where dreams grow legs. It is where identity takes shape in the fire of repetition, not the applause of conversation. You do not owe the world your explanation. You owe your future your execution. Let me remind you of a man who mastered this law. Andrew Carnegie was not known for discussion. He was known for declaration. He did not speculate. He decided. His speech was not an act of exploration. It was an act of enforcement. When he spoke, the decision had already been made. His words were final. He gave no disclaimers. He did not wonder aloud. He did not need validation. He had moved long before the sentence left his mouth. And that is the kind of man you are becoming. From this day forward, your speech will no longer be the place where ideas are formed. That process belongs in your silence. Your words are no longer the arena for personal therapy. That belongs in your journal, in your discipline, in your stillness. You will not talk about what you're going to do, you will do it. And if asked about it, you will say nothing, not out of secrecy, but out of sovereignty, because you have nothing to prove, only something to complete. Here is your challenge, simple in theory, powerful in execution. Take one major goal, one that matters to you, and for the next 30 days, speak of it to no one, not your friends, not your family, not your circle, not even in passing. You will not announce it. You will not explain it. You will not seek feedback. You will only act. You may feel the pressure to say something. You may feel the discomfort of withholding. Let me be clear. That pressure is your weakness leaving. That pressure is the old version of you gasping for air. Starve it. The old version of you wanted to be heard. The new version of you wants to get it done. There will be moments in these 30 days where you will have something to say. Perhaps a win, a milestone, a step taken. You will feel the urge to share it. Let it die. You are not here to perform. You are here to produce. The vow of silence is not only about your voice. It is about your motives. If you need to speak in order to feel like something is happening, then you do not yet believe in the power of private action. But this vow will correct that. It will train you to derive satisfaction not from acknowledgement, but from movement. You will find after a few days of withheld speech that your action becomes cleaner, sharper, because you no longer waste energy narrating. You do not pause to tell the world. You simply continue. And that momentum compounds. Let me give you this truth. The more you explain yourself, the less they believe you. But the more you move without commentary, the more undeniable you become. The man who needs to talk about what he's doing lacks belief. The man who does not speak at all, but delivers what he has declared silently to himself, is a man no one can stop. So I give you your new structure. Choose your goal. Write it privately, keep it sacred. Each day, move on it without telling. Let the urge to speak pass through you. Let it die. Let your new power be seen in your progress, not your posts. And now your affirmation. Speak at once, slowly, with your head high, your shoulders back, your heart steady. My actions speak of destiny. My voice is reserved for command. Again, my actions speak of destiny. My voice is reserved for command. From this point forward, you are no longer a man of verbal planning. You are a man of silent completion. And when the work is done, the world will ask how you did it. You will say nothing. You will smile, because your life will have already spoken on your behalf. The purpose of silence is not to impress the world. It is to meet yourself. It is not to gain applause or appear composed or play the role of discipline. That is surface. The real value of silence lies in what it unveils beneath the noise, beneath the excuses, beneath the emotion, beneath the well-rehearsed mask you've worn for years. I am not asking you to stop talking for the world's sake. I am commanding you to stop talking so you can hear the voice that has been waiting inside you, your other self. There are two of you. There is the self that reacts, speaks quickly, hesitates under pressure, needs to be understood, seeks comfort in distraction, and drowns in opinions. That self is public, practiced, and temporary. That self is a product of external influence, shaped by what others have said and what the world has demanded. But then there is another self. A self you did not invent, but must uncover. A self that speaks with clarity, sees with force, moves without approval, and makes decisions from a place so deep and unshakable it feels like fire wrapped in stillness. That self does not speak often, but when it does, it speaks with finality. And it does not arrive through effort. It arrives through stillness. In Think and Grow Rich, I described this encounter in no uncertain terms. It was not imagination. It was not fantasy. It was a voice, internal, clear, unshakable, that gave me direction when the world offered only confusion. It gave me instruction when logic failed. It emerged after hours of sitting, writing, thinking, and not speaking. It was in silence that I met the other self. And I tell you now, it was that voice that built everything, not the outer one, not the practiced one, not the one trained by society, but the inner self, the one forged by faith, guided by definiteness, and awakened only when the noise is removed. You have this same self. It lives within you now. It is not gone. It is not dormant. It is merely buried under layers of mental debris, daily distractions, and most of all, your own unnecessary speech. Every sentence you've spoken out of compulsion, every reaction, every explanation, every burst of commentary, it has all formed a wall around this deeper self, a wall so thick that most men never hear the voice again. But if you would be different, if you would rise while others repeat, you must now listen with the deepest kind of attention. And that attention cannot exist while the tongue is busy. 30 days of silence is not a performance. It is a reckoning, a removal of the mask, a return to source. And if you stay with it, if you sit in the discomfort, the boredom, the pull to speak, then something begins to shift. A voice begins to emerge, and it is not soft. It is not uncertain. It is not passive. It says things like, "You were not made to drift. You were not born to explain. You were built for direction, for order, for destiny." It reminds you of your definite chief purpose, not the one you say aloud to sound focused, but the one buried in your bones, the one you knew before the world talked you out of it, the one that still calls you back, not with noise, but with clarity. But you cannot hear this voice until the lesser voice dies. That is the secret no one teaches, that the highest part of you cannot rise until the loudest part of you is silenced. That power belongs to the man who can sit still long enough to hear instruction from within. Let me give you the principle. Stillness is not the absence of thought. It is the return of the true thought. When you stop reacting to everything outside, you begin hearing what is true inside. When you stop describing your frustrations, you start identifying your aim. When you stop speaking, the internal compass begins to rotate again. That compass is real. It will show you where to go. It will correct your course, but only in silence. Only when you've stopped proving. Only when you've stopped narrating weakness. And now I give you a command, not a suggestion. Each day during this vow, spend 15 minutes in absolute stillness. No talking, no planning, no reacting, just listening, just writing, just remembering who you were before you forgot. Ask yourself silently, what am I here to build? What thought must I replace? What does the man I am becoming believe that I have not yet said? Then write, you will not share it. You will not discuss it. You will write as a ritual. You will let the other self begin to speak, not with paragraphs, but with orders, not with emotion, but with clarity. And you will follow. This is where the vow leads, not to less life, but to new life, not to coldness, but to command, not to silence for silence's sake, but to voice that changes the future when it finally speaks again. And now I give you your affirmation. Say it. Like a man who is listening for the first time. I do not fear silence. I find myself in it. Again, I do not fear silence. I find myself in it. Because when this vow is complete, when the noise is gone and the distractions are dead, you will know who you are again. And when you speak again, it will not be for reaction. It will be for direction. You may think that your silence will go unnoticed. You may fear that by saying nothing, you will become invisible. But listen carefully. The world does not follow noise. It follows weight. And weight does not require volume. It requires gravity. It requires internal command. It requires stillness enforced by intention. True presence needs no explanation. It does not beg for attention. It does not demand recognition. It is not loud. It is not flamboyant. But it is unmistakable. And it always gets noticed. Not because it declares itself, but because it stands apart from the men who never stop talking. In these 30 days, if you follow this vow, not as ritual, but as identity, you will begin to feel the shift. Your words will become fewer. Your thoughts will become sharper. Your decisions will carry finality. And the people around you will begin to feel something they cannot explain. They will say something changed. They will say, he's different. They will not know what it is because you will not tell them. But your silence will begin to build a life that speaks without words. You must understand the law. He who masters silence builds a life that speaks without words. Most men build a personality. They assemble a costume of phrases, mannerisms, opinions, and noise. They change that costume based on the room. They speak to be liked. They express to be seen. But the man who walks in silence builds authority. He no longer seeks to be liked. He seeks to become undeniable. He does not wear a costume. He wears discipline. Let me remind you of the men whose names you still remember, not because they spoke often, but because they moved with certainty. Henry Ford was not loved for his charisma. He was respected for his clarity. He refused to explain his ideas when he had already decided. He let the world mock, and he delivered results. John D. Rockefeller spoke less than any man in the room, yet every man in the room watched him. When he finally spoke, the conversation shifted, not because he raised his voice, but because he never wasted it. Abraham Lincoln would sit through entire meetings without uttering a word, letting the fever of others burn out in noise, while he sharpened his response in silence. And when he spoke, it was over. His presence came not from his position, but from his composure. These men built lives that commanded attention, not through performance, but through consistency, restraint, and direction. And you will do the same. Do not think for a moment that silence will make you weaker. It will make you sharper. It will not dim your influence. It will concentrate it. You will stop chasing recognition and begin drawing it, not through manipulation, but through the quiet force of becoming a man who needs no approval to move. You are not here to build a personality. You are here to build presence. You are not here to be charming. You are here to be consequential. Now I give you a command that may test your instinct. Do not announce your 30-day vow of silence to others. Do not broadcast it. Do not ask for understanding. Do not explain why you're speaking less. Say nothing about it. Just become it. Let your silence speak louder than any declaration could. If asked, you may smile. You may nod. You may offer a brief answer. But you will not turn your discipline into a show. You are not performing. You are practicing. You are not documenting a shift. You are embodying one. Let your family feel it. Let your circle sense it. Let your peers watch it. And let your actions, more deliberate, more focused, more final, tell them everything they need to know. Because after 30 days of silence, your voice will not only sound different, it will mean different. Your language will no longer be noise. It will be signal. Every sentence will carry the force of a man who has sat with himself and obeyed his own law. You will no longer speak to fill air. You will speak only to command it. And now say this aloud: calm, measured, and absolute. I am building a life that speaks when I say nothing. Again, I am building a life that speaks when I say nothing. Because your silence is no longer a pause. It is a message. And the world will hear it even if you never say a word. This vow you have taken, this 30-day silence, is not a phase. It is not a challenge for temporary restraint. It is not a spiritual experiment or a test of endurance. This vow is the beginning of a new condition, a new posture, a new code by which you will now conduct your life. Because a man who masters his speech masters his future. And that mastery does not end with a clock. It begins with identity. From this point forward, speech is no longer something you fall into. It is something you choose. It is no longer something that leaks from you in moments of discomfort or hunger for attention. It is something that is measured, deliberate, and reserved for force, for instruction, for precision. Speech is now a weapon. And like all weapons, it must be holstered more often than drawn. It must be cleaned, sharpened, respected. It must not be used for display, but for direction. You are not here to describe your mood. You are not here to narrate your doubt. You are not here to release pressure through verbal escape. You are here to shape your world, and your words are now your tools, not your trap. Let us review what you have learned, what you have become. You now speak only what builds. If it does not add structure to your thoughts, to your action, to your aim, it is not spoken. You speak only what instructs. If it does not direct yourself or another toward movement, it is withheld. You speak only what declares. No more hints. No more emotion disguised as fact. You say what you mean, and you act behind it. You speak only when it is time to move others, never to stabilize your own insecurity. Your mouth is no longer a place for emotional leakage. It is a place of leadership. This is the structure of the man you have now become, and it is a structure that does not dissolve with the passing of 30 days. It is a way of life. You are not returning to the man you were. He was ruled by noise. You are now ruled by inner law. He lived in reaction. You now live in deliberate construction. Let your speech re-enter your life like a man returning from battle, calm, sharpened, and knowing its own strength. You are no longer careless. You are no longer compulsive. You are no longer triggered. You are now a man who speaks only when the weight of the moment requires force, and only when the fire has already been forged in silence. I now give you your final command, a ritual that will separate you from the majority of men whose voices are loud, but whose lives are soft. On day 31, you will read your 5 affirmations aloud, 10 times each, with posture, with breath, with power. You will not whisper them. You will not mutter them like wishes. You will speak them as declarations from a man who no longer permits the tongue to outrun the mind. You will look at yourself in the mirror and you will speak, I am the man you have chosen to become. I do the actions that shape your day. I build the life that cannot be shaken. I demand the internal obedience that creates external order. And these 5 statements will not be for motivation. They will be structure. They will be orders. They will be the foundation of your new speech, brief, clear, commanding. And from that day forward, you will speak only to reinforce these pillars, not to escape discomfort, not to prove yourself, not to describe chaos. You will speak only truth, aim, identity, and instruction. And now say this final affirmation aloud. Stand as you do. And speak it not from the throat, but from the diaphragm, from the place inside you that has been silent until now, waiting to return. I am a man of command. I hold my words. I release only power. I am silent until it is time to build. Again, slower, sharper, with finality. I am a man of command. I hold my words. I release only power. I am silent until it is time to build. Let that sentence mark the closing of the old you. Let it burn into your memory. Let it guide your mouth from this day forward. You are no longer a man who leaks identity. You are a man who builds it in silence and, when necessary, in command. The vow is complete, but the discipline has just begun.